is back! Hi everyone, let's talk about Outlander Season 3, Episode 1, The Battle Joined. Outlander is back! And now that Game of Thrones is done, it's so great that I'm just able to jump into my other favorite show. I'm like, yes! Now, of course, you've probably noticed that my reviews for Outlander are now on my channel, and they will continue to be on this channel for the remainder of the season. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to do that. But apart from that, the reviews will pretty much be the same that they used to be on Happy Cool, so, you know. Let's chat about Outlander. So I still haven't read the books. I decided that I wanted to keep being surprised and to continue to experience the story through the medium that I started it with, if that makes sense. So since I've been watching the show, I just kind of want to continue watching the show. But enough chatting, let's jump into the episode, starting with some quick thoughts. I have two. First one, the opening song has changed again a bit, hasn't it? I feel like there's a little less of the Scottish sounds in there, and it seems to keep changing a little bit of the sound based on the season and what's coming. You know, like last season they made it in French and then changed it back to English when it was back in Scotland. So I think this season, yeah, I'm not really sure, but it sounded a little less Scottish to me. And then second quick thought is, where is Martha? I mean, I know we saw him at the beginning of the battle in the flashbacks that Jamie was having, but like, is he alive? He better be alive, because we lost too many people, which I will talk about. I'm not happy about that. I think he's alive, but I was just like, they made a point of not really showing him to us, and I was not happy about that. The episode was kind of a back and forth between, you know, Jamie's side and Claire's side, but I will be first focusing on Jamie and then I'll move on to Claire, because otherwise it'll be really hard to talk about. So let's first focus on Jamie. He's alive! I guess that's the first thing we should talk about. I mean, we knew he was alive at the end of last season, obviously, and, you know, there's no show if there's no Jamie, but he's alive. He survived the battle. I mean, he's in really bad shape. And I found the beginning really interesting because they decided not to focus on the Battle of Culloden. I mean, we do see like flashes of it, but it's not like a battle sequence that we got. I like that they decided to give us glimpses of it as if we're seeing it through Jamie's mind. Since he's a little bit out of it, he has glimpses of what happened. He's remembering a little bit. He's a little bit confused. He's like trying to figure out where he is, what's happening, while he's laying, you know, almost half dying on the field. So we do see the aftermath, a little bit of him at the stone after he said goodbye to Claire, which, by the way, totally broke my heart. I was like, oh, why did you have to show us what happened on this side? Like, I don't need to see Jamie sad. And then, of course, the moment that they had to show us in a way was the whole Blackjack confrontation. And part of me was like, yes, you know, we get to see him finally kill Blackjack, but at the same time, it wasn't those sort of flashback moments, and I feel like in a way it wasn't as grandiose as I wanted it to be. I was like, oh, it's not as satisfying as I thought it would be. It was too quick. It was like, boom, he's dead. Oh, all right, I guess. What I did think was really cool, well, I mean, cool to watch, not to experience, I'm sure, was that once you realize that Jamie really killed Blackjack in the battle, you have the body that's been on top of it kind of turn around and you realize Jamie has been laying half dead in this field with Blackjack's body on top of him. I mean, literally, the guy cannot get rid of him. Like, even when he's dead, he's like pushing him down and won't let him breathe, or I don't know. It's just like, even in death, he won't let go. And it does seem like Jamie stays on this field for a really long time. Thankfully, doesn't actually get killed by any of the English soldiers trying to find any survivors, and like literally stabbing them. Thankfully, Rupert finds him. Not really sure how, because there were a lot of bodies. But anyway, Rupert finds him, sort of saves him. Well, at least take him away from where he is at. And Jamie drops the Firefly and Ember, if that, you know, if I remember correctly, that's what it is. And I thought it was a cool symbol of like, that book is over and we're opening a new chapter, and, you know, kind of. Now, unfortunately, Jamie has been taken out of the field, but he's not safe because the soldiers have orders to kill all the leftover Scottish people, that traitors that were fighting in the battle. So I will say that I didn't find that scene as traumatic or sad as you would think it would be, and I think that's because the men show such courage. Like, they literally volunteer to be the next one to be executed. They're like, I believe in what I was fighting for, and I'm willing to die for it. If I need to be executed because of it, so be it. And I was like, wow. Fortunately, that means that Rupert is put to death and, you know, volunteers to be the next one to go and get shot. I mean, we lost Angus, and now we lose Rupert. On the one side, I'm like, oh, but Rupert is gonna go see Angus. You know, they're gonna reunite. But on the other hand, I'm like, well, we're not gonna get to see them anymore, and I really enjoyed them, so, you know, that sucks. I did like the moment where Rupert gets shot. They actually focus on Jamie's face and his reaction to it happening. It's a little bit of like all the men that he fought with or like cared for in this battle are dead, and Claire is gone. It's just like he has lost everything, really. He's just like, well, I mean, just kill me next. But no! He will not be killed next because, you know, John Grey, that little kid that he saved last season, who said, you know, I'll remember you. I don't remember what he said, but I do remember that I thought, we're gonna see that kid again for sure. And I remember in the comments, people were like, oh, you have no idea, Sandrine, we're totally seeing him again. But yeah, it makes sense. Like, it was just kind of set up in a way where like it has to come back at some point. And it came back in really, really perfect timing for Jamie. I mean, Jamie, I'm sure, is like, just kill me already. But we're like, no, Jamie, you don't understand. Claire is out there. She'll come back. He does not get killed because of honor, and there's a debt to be paid. You gotta love that time where honor and owing a debt actually meant something. John Grey's brother is like, fine, we can't really kill him. I mean, he's not gonna survive anyway, but I can't be responsible, so let's just put him like on this carriage or something and send him away. At least I say that I sort of saved him. He actually does save him because Jamie ends up in Lallybroch back to Jenny and Ian, and you know, they're gonna save him and they're gonna patch him up and it's gonna be great, and Jamie is gonna be like, yeah, I'm back. No, I gotta find Claire. So that's where we end this first episode. We're kind of establishing, you know, what happened to Jamie and Claire, where they're at this point in life. And that leads us to Claire, who is now still with Frank. You know, she's in Boston, she's pregnant, and we fast forward pretty quickly to like a big-bellied, ready to pop Claire. She's trying to make it work, maybe not really making it work. I want to mention the scene where she meets Frank's boss, and he's very patronizing to her about like, yeah, a woman's place is in, you know, raising children in the kitchen, taking care of the husband. All of that you're just like, I want to slap him. But, you know, Claire, God bless her heart, just, you know, puts a smile on her face and says, of course, that's what I love to do. Why not? But at the same time, I can't help but think that his comments and the way that he's kind of dismissing the fact that women might want to go study and do something else in life had an influence in maybe her going to medical school, maybe, or just kind of like, well, I'll show him, I'll go to medical school. Claire brings up the fact that, you know, they were the first women that attended medical school, and, you know, we know that from the trailer that she does go to medical school. So it's going to be interesting to see how that comes about. Now, I want to talk about Frank and Claire's relationship. Now, of course, I know, you know, most people are rooting for Claire and Jamie, and obviously I'm definitely rooting for them to reunite because, you know, they're meant to be. But I've always had a really soft spot for Frank from the beginning. I really just love the character, and, you know, fundamentally, he has just been dealt a crappy hand at life in a way. I mean, he does love Claire, and Claire was his wife, and, you know, in the first season, before she goes to the past, they had a pretty intense, loving relationship. At least when they reunited, it was pretty intense, and they loved each other, and they were really happy to be back together. And then suddenly she disappears, and when she reappears, you know, he thought she was dead, she's back. She's like, yeah, I love someone else, and I just can't let you in. And he's just trying his hardest to make this work, and I just love him, you know? I know that I don't necessarily think that Claire and him were the best match. And in a way, I kind of wish that he had gone on to find someone that really loved him. But, you know, he loved Claire, and he decided to raise Jamie's child as his own and be there for her. Now, in the first episode, I love the moments they had together. So many great moments. You have the moment where he's talking about the tea bag and how it's weird, like who would want to eat like tea in a diaper, which I'm like, that's a great analogy. And then you can see that he's trying to reach out to Claire, and she just kind of won't let him touch her, and she's just having a hard time letting him in. And what I found really interesting, he clearly is not forcing her to be with him. I mean, at this point, he tells her, you know, you don't have to stay. If you don't want to stay, you can go. Obviously, it's not easy as a woman if she was pregnant and going off on her own. It's not easy to leave him either. But I feel like Frank would probably help her even if she wasn't really with him. Like, I don't think he would just kind of leave her alone. And in a way, I think you can tell that Claire is conflicted between, she obviously loves Jamie and that was the love of her life, and at this point she thinks she's never going to be able to go back to him, and she is trying to figure out a way to move on. And in her own way, I think she does care for Frank, and I think Frank is the only other person that she could probably see herself with. It's just hard to kind of go back for her. And yeah, I like this kind of struggle for her where she's not sure, like she doesn't want to leave. She could leave, but she doesn't. Why doesn't she leave? You know, she's pregnant, but I don't think that's the only reason. She's pretty independent. If she really wanted to leave, I think she could have found a way. I think part of her does care about Frank and does want to try and make this work, and maybe she's thinking, you know, if I can be Jamie, Frank is a good guy. So I love that it's not just black or white. I like this kind of grayish. Also, you know, another layer to this whole thing would be that Frank also looks eerily similar to Blackjack, and you know, she's had this whole thing with Blackjack, and that also probably poisoned how she feels about Frank. Anyway, like I said, lots of layers. I love it. Something we also find out about Frank, and I don't know if that's in the book, but in the show at least, they have the scene where right before she gets into labor, he's writing to the Reverend to actually get information about Jamie. So he's even like, okay, like she seems so distraught and so sad. He's like, all right, fine. We gotta figure out if this Jamie guy survived. And I'm like, I mean, it just makes me love Frank even more, you know? I'm just like, oh, Frank, stop it. Unfortunately, I don't think he ever sends this letter because, you know, she obviously gives birth to the baby, and you have that really beautiful scene between the two when she's holding the baby, and you know, she has this moment of hope where she's like, maybe this can work, maybe we can be a family, we can be together. And you know, I think she realizes that she's being really hard on Frank and a little bit unfair, and it's just so hard. I think it's hard from both sides. You know, I understand why Claire is being like that, obviously, and I understand why Frank is being like that. Also, you know, when she has the baby in her arms, this is the first time that she obviously lets Frank kiss her, and I think at this moment she really believes that they can be a family. Obviously, because of what we saw in the finale from last season, it doesn't look like it's something that continually get worked out exactly how she thought or how she wanted it to work out at that moment in time. It looks like Claire still had a hard time, you know, forgetting Jamie, which, yeah, duh, of course she did. But it's nice that, you know, this baby brings a lot of happiness to both of them, until you have that really awkward moment where the nurse is like,
how did she get the red hair?
Well, good question. How did she get the red hair? And that's how they end the episode. And I'm like, oh, that's just like, first of all, I'm so happy Outlander is back, but I also really enjoyed this first episode. They did, I think, in the first episode what I think would expect them to do is kind of establish this new season, establish where the character's at when we start the season, and then we'll kind of grow from that. I'm guessing for a little bit we're gonna be seeing the parallel lives of Claire and Jamie until they finally kind of reunite. I hope we won't take too long to get them to reunite, because oh, I want them to reunite so bad. But again, I loved so many moments from this premiere, so I would of course love to hear what you thought of the premiere. What were some of your favorite moments? Do you have a soft spot for Frank like I do? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming reviews. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye!